One sec. Hey guys, what's up? It's just Connor here. And today we're going to be talking to one of our amazing students, Matt, who's been in the program for about 4 months now, and he's got some pretty crazy results. And we just wanted to talk about, as you've probably seen with other client success interviews, just more specifically about what he did before this, what he did before remote sales, how he got involved, what his experience was like, what type of results he's getting. And we're going to dive into a lot of that, right? Because I think Matt's story is quite inspiring because I think he also shares an experience that I see a lot of people have in the high ticket sales industry where they may have been burned in the past, right? Working with someone who didn't quite give them the right skills or the right knowledge, the right know-how. And as we talk about quite regularly on the YouTube channel, working with someone who's a marketer, not a sales guy, right? So to kind of start us off, I want to talk about the very, very beginning. So like, what were you doing before high ticket sales? What were you doing before high ticket closing? Like, what was the job you were working before you fully transitioned?
Yeah, for sure. So, gosh, even before sales, all of that, internet money, like I was a lifeguard. So I was at a pool. I did that for 4 years, and I would teach swim lessons. Just make sure people are going down the water slide right.
Mm,
All that fun stuff. But yeah, I also was a swim coach too because I was a swimmer. So I did that on the side as well.
mm. I also noticed as well, we spoke about this when you first joined as well, man, is I noticed that because you were, top tier level athlete, that same mindset's converted into sales super, super well. And for anyone
Mhm.
watching this, like if you have been involved in sports in previous hand, or you were obsessed, or you're trying to become the best with your endeavor when it comes to sports, usually I find a lot of those people carry those same mindsets and skills into sales, right? Because sales is meritocracy, we can increase our income just by getting better, right? And that happens over time. But it's simply about obviously first learning the skills to sell, land a role, and then you can scale your income to 10K a month, which is what you did last month, which we're going to be talking about here in a second. But for you, doing the role that you're working in, why did you want something more? Like, why did you want to change? Why did you want to transition to something else? Like, was there an event or anything in particular?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, honestly, for me, it was just seeing what was possible. Like always, I knew that just trading my time for, 20, $25 an hour, that's
Hmm.
not going to get me to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And you can only go so far at a 9 to 5, right? So, for me, it was just really about knowing what was possible and believing that I could achieve more. And
Mm.
I was getting really burnt out. I was getting really tired of the work I was doing and seeing guys on the internet, seeing personal friends of mine, doing 20, 50, 80K a month.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, I want to do that. And I know I can. I just need to, first of all, have the right vehicle, have the right training, and be in the right environment to make that happen. So it was very gradual for me, but I just got sick and tired of it. And in January of this year, I was just like, if I want to make that change, I have to quit. I have to go all in on this. And
Mm.
it was really scary, quitting both my steady jobs, and
Yeah.
moving to another province to go like all in on this. But yeah, sometimes when you put your back against the wall and give yourself no other choice, you make it happen.
100%, man. And all the time I talk about, people say it's risky to invest in a training and it's risky to invest in a mentor, and it absolutely is. It really is, because like we talk about, we'll talk about how, your experience, what you went through, on how, it absolutely is a risk that you're taking, investing, you know, high ticket sums of money into people. But
Hmm.
a lot of the time is the question that I propose to a lot of the people that I have calls with every single week. We have at least 3 to 5 calls a day for people that want to join the RSA. And I always just say, like, what's more risky, right? Staying doing what you're doing and continuing doing that, which is just gonna, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. And if you're in this same perpetual cycle in whatever you're doing right now, you could be working in retail like I was, right? You could be an accountant, you could be a lawyer, right? You're only going to stay in the same position as if you don't change your vehicle. If you don't change your vehicle, the skills, you're not going to get to where you want to go ultimately, right? So I think that's That's really, really cool lesson for a lot of the guys watching this. And for you, I want to talk more about, I guess, your experience, right? Because obviously coming into this industry was quite rough for you, right? You worked with somebody who
Mhm.
didn't quite get the results that they promised.
Yeah.
As we talk about a lot of the YouTube videos, like the difference between marketers and sales guys. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of misinformation, a lot of people out there that don't really know what they're talking about. And even sometimes will force you to do something that you're not willing to do. So at the end of the day, for you, man, like what was your experience like coming into this industry? First off, working, with someone who does something quite similar to me. Obviously, we're not naming names
Mhm.
here, but what was your experience like doing that? Like, how did it happen? How did it unfold?
Yeah. So my experience before yours, again, no names, but someone very similar. It was pretty bad. Like I made it clear what I was looking for, why I was joining. And this person pretty much said everything they needed to in order for me to pull out my card. And I am someone who is willing to invest in myself, obviously, and take risks towards my future. So when you have someone like that and you're lying to them, it's essentially just zero integrity. So coming into a program like that, and not getting anything what I actually invested for, it was very hard. It was very hard. And for myself, having left both my 9 to 5s, with no steady income,
Mm-hmm.
it was even harder. And yeah, I essentially called them out. Well, anyways, whatever, a little bit into it and made it
Mm-hmm.
clear that this wasn't for me. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough for sure, just to say the least.
Yeah, I definitely can feel like a kick in the gut for sure. And I think for a lot of people, perhaps listening to this, you may have invested in a coach, you may have invested in somebody, and you haven't got the result you're looking for. Right? Totally understand that. I've been there. Matt's been there. I've invested lots of money. I've burnt money, literally just almost like setting it on fire. Right? I've invested in some very bad coaches, but at least 80% of them have been pretty good. Right? I think for a lot of people that are watching this, if you have been burned in the past, just know that there is a better alternative out there. There is a better structure. There is a better strategy. Because if Matt, didn't go out hunting again, he'd be still working, doing the same thing that he was doing, right? Because
Mhm.
in that environment or the training that he was receiving, he didn't quite get what he needed that was necessary to get his foot in the industry, but also grow and scale his income and understand how to professionally do that. A lot of professional development, personal development, which we've gone through quite a lot as well.
Mhm.
And so I think if we were to circle back there a little bit, what was, and we're going to talk about the comparison here in a second, but when you got inside the training, you mentioned obviously you were quite disappointed with what was inside of there, like the course, the online training, things like that. Because I find this is a very, very common experience with a lot of people that, book calls with myself and then they say, I've worked with X, Y, and Z coach and I haven't got a result. I know why, because I don't have the right skills, right structure, the right strategy, and the right mindset, right? Which is all the four things you really need. What was the training like going in there? Like how advanced was it? What did you think of the training when you first saw it? Like you paid the amount. What was it like when you went in there?
Yeah, I opened it, and as soon as I paid, essentially, I'm like, okay, let's go through the course immediately. So I went through, and yeah, pretty much I just laughed. I'm like, are you serious? Like this is it?
Mm,
Um, Pretty much all of it. Like I'm no sales pro. Like obviously that's why I'm working with you, right? But
yeah.
even just I'm like, well, this is common sense. Like there's no official script, like there's no solution finding, there's no objection handling, there's hardly any coaching. And yeah, I mean, it was just such a slap in the face. So it was pretty much just a glorified Discord community. Like that's really it.
Mm.
And it was not nearly worth what I paid for. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And like I literally hear this experience every single day. Because again, people that are watching this, you really need to do your research on who you might be working with, right? You look at my YouTube channel, you look at my Instagram content. We've been doing this since April, right? Not a very long time. A lot of these guys have been doing it for years somehow. I don't really know how, but a lot of what I find is people will pay the training, and it's either one or two things. Like yourself, you understood, even as a complete beginner, that the sales training was just not equivalent to what you paid for, right? But then we have other people on the other side of the spectrum who will invest into sales training, right? They might be paying 4, 5, 6, even upwards to 8,000, 10,000 USD, and they'll get in there and they'll believe that is the best thing, right? And they will tell themselves to justify, that they've spent this high price tag, because they don't know any better. They think the training is amazing or super advanced or it's everything that you need. And then the moment that you go out into the sales trenches and you start selling, you're screwed. You can't make any money.
Mm.
I think it's a super common experience with people that I talk to almost every single day. I've got my DMs filled of people saying, "Oh no, I've already invested in a coaching program. I've already invested into, such and such as program. And I've been trying to apply for jobs for 4 months, 6 months, a year, and they have no results. Or they worked on a shitty offer and they didn't know how to understand if it's a good offer or not. And then they're just basically volunteering, working for free." Like I see this as like one of the most common experiences of two people. One person trying to get in the industry is the people that I talk to. Number two is people who have bought another program and they're trying to find all the right skills necessary to actually get them the results that they initially wanted, right? And they end up spending more money than they originally had, whether or not they went with the right person or not, right? But anyways, I digress. So for you, now that we've looked at basically the dark side, right? As we talk about all the time, right? If someone
Mhm.
is looking or comparing myself to another training program or another guy out there, you have no problem getting the DMs or whatever. And to be honest, I'm surprised you're even, open to that, because I don't really like asking people to do that at all. In fact, I never really do. But I know that you've had such a stellar experience compared to what you've previously tried in the past. And you've got some amazing results, which I want to talk about here before. But for you, I want to talk about your experience in like polar opposite to when you worked in a competitor's training program versus, RSA, right? What are the
Mhm.
differences? What have you found has been the key pivotal changes that has led you to get the result that you've ultimately gotten?
Yeah, no, good question. So honestly, the very first thing that stood out to me about RSA and what you're doing is just you. Like genuinely your experience, your years of grinding, they're so evident, man. Just even just a quick DM question and my problem is fixed. Like it's really evident. First of all, you know what you're doing. Like it's clear as day. And I'd say the second thing that really, really stood out to me was the education. And
Mm,
this is always updated too. Like it's very concise, it's very quick, it's super efficient. And if you're serious about going through it and taking notes, like it's just game changing. So that's been a huge, huge plus for me, is just being able to have that and how it's always growing. You're always adding, updating the stuff for the guys. Yeah, it's just huge. And obviously the coaching too, being able to hop on a call, multiple times a week with yourself and one of the other coaches too. It's been just huge, getting feedback from experts and people that are crushing it and have been crushing it in the past.
mm,
Um, Really, if you're showing up and doing what you need to, there's no reason why you won't succeed.
100%. And I completely agree with you. Obviously, I'm quite biased, but I think for me, the way that I've developed the training is that I fully want somebody to come in and have all the training they ever need, from sales training, networking training, finding roles, how to manage your pipeline, everything that you'll ever need is inside this platform. I know from experience, like, we talked about my nearly 5 years now actually doing this. The key difference is I actually did this, which is from a lot of people that might be doing their research right now. Go look at my videos. You can tell I'm uploading sales call recordings, things like that. I actually sold for years and years and years, and I continually do that for my own business, right? And so, I don't, when you book in a call with my team, it's not going to be some sales guy. You're going to be talking to me directly. And that's for a very specific reason. Like, I don't want to grow this training to some crazy level, at least not yet. Ideally, I only really want 4 or 5 students a week at maximum capacity. Like, to hit my goals and what I want to achieve. And of course, it's incredibly impactful and purposeful compared to when I was running an agency a couple months ago. it's just a massive change because like the coolest thing, man, is like literally when you send me a win, you post a win, when the guys post a win, I hit 10K a month, got my first role. Some of these things literally took me 8 months to a year to even get and attain, right? You're achieving a result in 4 months that took me literally over a year, probably no, more like a year and a half to fully hit my first 10K a month because all the information that I was given when I spent $7,500 on a coach was go to Facebook groups, apply to Facebook groups, right? And there's this big thing that I'm seeing, this big narrative in the industry right now, which I'm not sure you're, I guess, understanding of this as well. But you've probably seen a lot of things out there as well, like guaranteed placement all the time, like guaranteed placement. Like, what does that even mean? I constantly talk about with all the experts in the industry, all my friends that are doing really, really well as salespeople, and we constantly share the same frustration is people come into the industry and they get guaranteed placement. Like, what does that even mean? Right? As someone who's experienced, but someone who isn't experienced wouldn't know that that offer could very well make you zero money. You could be working
Mhm.
almost as a volunteer. You could be prospecting. You could be basically having to build the entire business. You're doing 50% of the work for 10% of the profit, right? And it's honestly just crazy to me where like people get the wrong expectation in the industry, right? And I think the big difference between RSA and a lot of the things you've probably seen out there is that I give people the right expectations. Like, I'm not telling you you're going to be a millionaire overnight because you're not. You can, right? We got guys like Matt doing 10K in 4 months, Ben doing 10K in 3 months, and heaps of other guys crushing it. But at the end of the day, like you mentioned before, if you actually put in the work behind it, it will work. It just takes time, which is not a lot of what a lot of these guys will tell you of just like, hey, you're going to be 10K a month in 90 days. Granted, that can happen, right? But sometimes people just get a little bit lucky and they find the right role, they get the right skills really quickly. Obviously, within the strategies inside the training program, we've developed it now so that there's networking strategies that enable you to actually control your opportunities and actually find opportunities that will make you 10K a month and not just 4 or 5K a month, right? So I found that really critical and a key insight that I've learned really recently. But I guess in the very short time period that you've been working with me, not very long at all, what do you feel like the biggest impact working with me has been on you?
Yeah, honestly, I would just say leading with integrity. Like for me, that's something I noticed from you right away. And that's something I try my very best to take into on all of my sales calls now,
Mm,
because I've been there, we've been talking to some sleazy sales guy, some dude that just wants to take our money.
hmm.
And, prospects now, like anybody can smell that from a mile away.
Yeah.
So for myself, the biggest thing I learned from you is just having integrity, having authenticity.
Mm,
Not only does that allow the prospect, someone else, to completely lower their guard and you can actually connect and have trust with them,
mm.
but also it's going to ultimately allow you to put them in the best position to actually get the result that they want to have. Right. So it's probably the biggest thing I've learned. As well, tons of other things. Like I could go on and on. The course you released on networking recently, that was also a banger. So yeah, I could keep talking, but yeah, those are probably some of the biggest things.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And for those of you who don't know, that was about an hour and 40 minutes, specifically like a masterclass on how to find your dream roles, right? This is the stuff that I wish that I had 4 years ago. Like, I kicking and screaming wish that I had 4 years ago. Um, Whenever I see someone that says, "Oh yeah, I'm working with X and X Guru," and they're telling me to go through job posts or go on Facebook groups, it doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't. And it's a constant narrative of these guys gets in this same trap, man, of that the guru tells them, oh, well, if it's not working for you, it's a bad mindset. It's a bad mindset, man. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not true at all.
Hmm.
Like, they always try in these coaching programs, I've seen it all the time. They try to blame the reason someone's not getting results isn't a bad mindset. If you had a good coaching program, you'd help them develop their mindset, right? You'd work on personal development, just like we have together, right? I've exposed you to some, serious things that, really help to accelerate your personal development game. And I think
Hmm.
this is not what's talked about in the sales industry. It's like you have to be personally developed to do well, right? You can't come in
Hmm.
the industry and not be going to the gym, having bad habits, bad sleep, right? Eating like shit. Like you can't do that, right? You will not make the money that you want to make if you are not personally developed. I find more often than not that the people that do super well dive into their personal development even more, right? Because they become the 10K a month guy, they become the 15K a month guy, right? They become the dude who's necessary to actually get to where they want to be. Long story short, but that's really cool, man. And so when I talk about obviously the offers that you're working on, like what you've worked on in the past and how that experience was like for you. I know obviously you got one role through one of my network connections, which was Joseph, which is
Hmm.
all right. And then, you've worked on another offer at the moment, which is scaling up. So for just general people's insights to get a little bit familiar with the industry, can you talk a little bit more about like what you're selling, how it works, and what your experience is like selling it?
Yeah, 100%. So for reference, in the past, I my very first role was a fitness offer. So really good guy, but like just starting to build it. So it wasn't really it wasn't the vehicle for me to make 10K a month, unfortunately, but
Hmm.
still a good opportunity. After that, I sold e-commerce coaching. So a lot of people here or watching this have probably tried drop shipping or something like that. So
Yep.
I was one of those guys selling one of those programs, and it was okay, but fulfillment wasn't good. So I was like, I got to find something else
Yeah.
that I can feel good about selling, And then long story short, I'm with a really good business owner now, and his program's amazing. So essentially it's for DeFi. So for cryptocurrency, we're teaching people how to do yield farming with cryptocurrencies. So it's been a great offer. And last month we just did 600K revenue, I believe about there.
Hmm.
Don't quote me. It was somewhere around there. But
Sure.
yeah, the goal is to get 1 million a month, hopefully by the end of the year.
Hmm.
And it's been good, but selling to very intelligent prospects,
Mm.
like they're a lot of successful business owners, a lot of people obviously with money to spend and invest, but very intelligent, very analytical. A lot of them know sales already.
Hmm.
So they know what you're doing, they know what you're trying to get them to say. So obviously, like working with you, I've been able to really tweak my approach and make it more effective for someone that's obviously super intelligent and analytical.
Yeah, no, it's a super cool insight because a lot of people, again, like they will have a flat stick sales process and try to sell everybody the same way. The industry, the avatar, the offer, like they'll try to sell the same way, but it doesn't quite work that way. The way that's so important is obviously learning the principles of selling and having a backbone that you can refer to so that you can tweak and adjust on depending on the offer that you're on. Because the biggest problem is, I see these guys, man, they come from these training programs and they have this script and they're like given the high ticket closing $1 million multi 7 figure script that literally doesn't work. Or when they try it, they end up closing at like 15-20%, if that, right? If they're lucky, right? Because they're using what the guru taught them, but at the end of the day, it's all just old sales textbook methods. That's where a lot of these
Mhm.
marketers get their information, right? Because again, they didn't do this from experience. That's really the thing I want to hit hard home is that these guys, they talk about their experience, talk they did 30K a month, they talk about they did these, big months. But a lot of the times, they haven't really worked in the industry for a good enough time to pick up all the little things that you pick up along the way, all the little golden nuggets from like how to deal with sales peaks and troughs, right? How to, again, specifically find out what offer is going to be good and what's not going to be good, right? So, for example, I know and I can tell you that the crypto yield farming offer, while that's great now, that is also something that is trending, right? And we know with crypto, it trends. And then what happens when it goes into a bear market? It doesn't trend, right? It's harder to sell, right? People then think crypto is scammy out of nowhere, which makes no sense, but they do. It's like these offers, understanding like, are these offers a trendy offer? Are these an offer that's going to last me the long term? All these type of things are critical skills. And I find the majority of the market's completely missing from interview skills, how to land the role, how to vet the offer, what questions to ask. These guys have no idea. And the big thing that I see with a lot of the market at the moment is not only are they struggling to find roles, they're struggling to surpass 5K a month because they can't vet the right opportunities and they can't even land them, right? They're using the same process that 90% of the industry is using, which is job posts and Facebook groups. It's like, well, no shit, it's not working because you're using the same methods that majority of the market are using. So if the majority of the market aren't getting results, which they aren't, because they can't find the right offers, then why do the same, right? Why do the same, right? Job posts can work, but man, it is a fucking grind. It is many, many, many messages. You're going to send hundreds of messages. And then even worse, you're gonna take an offer out of desperation because you don't have a choice. You don't have abundance. And so this is a big thing we talk about all the time inside the RSA is you need to develop the right skills to build a pipeline of offers, right? Because one day your offer the fulfillment could be shot, the marketing might go down, ads get banned, something happens, who knows, right? And these are all very plausible scenarios. It's happened to me multiple times. It's happened to multiple students, right? So you need to be very on your toes and have the right skills to vet the opportunities, but also find them. Because if you're using the same strategies as everyone else, you're going to be working the shit jobs. You're going to be working the shit opportunities. And that's what I find one of the biggest problems most people are dealing with when they join these other gurus and trainings, because they don't know what they're talking about. And they're using outdated methods that worked maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And even then they weren't even that good. But anyways, so I think for you, man, that's some good context on what you're doing and how you're working, the type of roles that you're selling. Because a lot of people are unfamiliar with like what you can sell, whether it's like dating coaching or whatever that you might be selling. There's a plethora of things you can sell. And we recommend specifically 11 to 12 niches inside the training program. There's at least 110, 111, 112, but we've gone and done the work for you to really find out what are the best industries to target, what's the best strategy to target them, and how to use job posts, recruiters, and referrals to land the best roles in the industry, right? It's by far the huge, huge difference that I've seen at the moment. So finishing off here, I guess, how likely after going through the training for 4 short months, and I don't think we even mentioned, it might have been mentioned earlier, but Matthew hit 10K a month in his 4th month doing this, right? Before I actually even asked that last question, we were talking about, before we hopped on the interview and we started recording, was that I traveled to Vietnam recently. And obviously, this is why I don't have the best setup right now and why my camera's not on, because it's probably going to burn out. That's the con of having a fancy camera. But, we're talking about the freedom that you can now, that you can flex, that you can do because you are now in high ticket sales, that you can travel. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, like your plans on how you want to travel, like, this next year and next, now that you have the ability to work completely remote, just given that you're on the right time zone?
100%. Yeah. So as we were talking about earlier, it's just insane. Like after this first month, having, done 10K, it's just mind blowing, first of all, knowing that I don't have to be locked in any one spot. Like I can work from anywhere as long as I have a laptop and some decent Wi-Fi. Like that's really it. So just having that freedom, it's still really setting in. But in terms of travel plans, like I definitely want to travel Europe a bit. I have some friends over there. Lucas, Fabian, another guy inside, go see them. Yeah, maybe hit up Thailand, travel around there. But I don't know. It just really feels like the world is in the palm of my hands right now. And it's truly an incredible feeling.
Yeah, man, it's so cool. And like I was talking about before, it's like you unlock that freedom at only a little bit later that you start to really get like, I can literally wake up and do whatever I want and go wherever I want in the world tomorrow. That's a pretty cool feeling. And it's pretty freeing considering that majority of the population of the world can't do that. A lot of people ask me, oh, like you're going to Vietnam. How long are you going to Vietnam for? Why are you going to Vietnam? So I was like, fuck it, man, because I can. And they're like, how long are you going for? I'm like, I don't know, just going. And do super cool things like, see, a friend of mine who's now like a really, really big artist go play to a crowd of like 6,000 people in Kuala Lumpur, just just because. And it's like that's the really, really cool thing of being involved in remote work that I think it's often not talked about enough. Like people talk about, oh, like you can take sales calls by the beach. No, we're not talking about that specifically. But what we're talking about is you can find a hotel room in Romania, Argentina, like wherever you want to go, man, you can go. And you have that flexibility and that freedom to just book the flights, just go. Instead of escaping reality that you're living right now, you can go live the reality, right? That's the huge
Hmm.
difference. People go on holidays for a week or 2 weeks and then they're rushing around. I can come here, just, this is a brand new long-term lease rental. I've got it here for 3 months. I can stay here for 3 months. Obviously, I do a visa run or two, but like the flexibility of being able to, just travel is another freeing feeling that, having geographical freedom that not many people really talk about. Like there's financial and there's time, but what is really cool, couple months in, 6 months in, is that you can just travel where you want, whenever you want, which is yeah, super, super cool. Um, so yeah, man, one also little thing as well. How much were you making at your previous job compared to what you're doing now, what you did last month?
Yeah, it's almost funny to say, but yeah, I mean hourly I was making about $25 an hour Canadian. I'm
Yep.
in Canada, so it was even less than USD, but
Mm,
yeah, like and then per month, if I'm working as much as I can, I was technically auxiliary, so not like full time.
mm-hmm.
And if I was working as much as I can, maybe like 2100 Canadian,
And you have to
you
show up to
know?
a physical location as well. Like you have a
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah.
The coolest thing, like I talked about, obviously the travel component, but you're able to, you work with a boss, you have a business owner that you're working with, but
Hmm.
you're no longer an employee anymore. You're a sales agency. You run your own business. You are the marketing department, the sales department, fulfillment departments, what we talk about in RSA. And you're able to pick and choose who you want to work with. You can work with your dream
Hmm.
companies. You can sell your dream stuff that you're passionate about, that you like. Another perk as well is that, you know, over my career, I've probably received over like 250 to 300,000 worth of free education from companies that, I worked with. That's business coaching, investing in real estate, all this type of stuff. You get access to some amazing things, especially when you're working with, someone that you'd really want to work with. If you want to get better at dating, right? There's dating coaches out there that you can, sell for, and you can learn all the stuff from their program. Same thing with investing and these other things, which is super stellar and really cool. So to finally tie off, what would you say to someone right now that's sitting on the fence? They've watched a couple YouTube videos, they're researching all these different guys to work with in high ticket sales, and they're not sure what to do, whether they should pull the trigger, book a call, have a conversation on Instagram. Like, what would you say to someone who's in that constant research mode, or someone who's even considering just joining up the RSA?
I would say, if you want to be different, if you want to have a different outcome, you have to do something different. Okay. And taking that first step, it is scary sometimes. However, someone like Connor, they can give you everything that you need to succeed. But until you actually take that step and you believe in yourself, then he'll never be able to help you. You'll never be able to actually get to where you want to go and where you know and believe you can go. So while you can lead a horse to water, like you can't really make it drink. And it is, challenging sometimes taking that first step and, shifting your mindset there. But really, once you do that, that's all it takes, and this spot in particular, it's a great community. Obviously, the education, the support, the coaching is just unlike anything I've personally experienced. So yeah, just believe in yourself and actually take that step, because all it takes is, one decision to change your life, really.
One vehicle, one decision, one skill, one strategy. And it just needs to be the correct vehicle and all those other things that I just mentioned. So super inspiring, man. I hope a lot of people are watching this and they get inspired by your story, because you're just like everybody else, right? Just as myself, just as all the other guys inside the training program. There's nothing special about us. We just have the right skills, the right training, the right community, and the right strategy, right? That's really all it comes down to, right? If you look at it as a bit of a mathematical equation, it's really, and I'm terrible at math, but long story short, the right strategy with continuous action multiplied by the exponent of time, you'll get to where you want to be. And I strongly believe that the RSA is all of those things, right? As long as you implement it, there is no way that you can fail. Or it's practically unreasonable for you to not get to where you want to go. 100%. So sweet, guys. Hopefully you enjoy the conversation with Matt. Hopefully you're a little bit inspired and got some key insights to someone who's actually doing this, who's done it in such a short time frame, like a lot of our guys end up doing. And yeah, is there any final words, Matt?
Yeah, I would honestly just say, again, if you are sitting on the fence, if this is something you wanted to do and have that freedom, to actually achieve something like this, like I'm no different than you. I'm just someone who believed in myself and took that step. So definitely do it.
Sweet, guys. All right. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.